Hello and welcome to the studios at Franklin TV for today's MIAA High School Football Bracket Breakdown Show. My name is Gage Nutter and I am a high school sports reporter at Mass Live, and we have a great show for you here today. We're going to be breaking down all 8 divisions, all 8 brackets. They're fresh off the presses, they're warm here, we got them, we're ready to go. And I am joined only by the best in the business, Jay Horrigan from Franklin TV, and the man who seemingly probably has a room here now at Franklin TV Studios. He's been here all week, MIAA historian Mike Richard. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. As we say, these brackets are fresh off in all 8 divisions. Games kicking off first round next week. Jay, for you, when it comes to the football postseason, I know we've been here in the studio breaking down these brackets a couple times here the last few years. When it comes to this time of year, it's November now. What excites you the most when it comes to high school football postseason time?
Everybody comes into it theoretically with the chance to win, to advance. They're high school kids, so you never know what's going to happen, and the unknown, I think, is such a huge part of high school sports, because you have some schools that are playing freshmen or 8th graders at quarterback. So you've got 12, 13-year-old kids playing against 18, 19-year-old kids. Right. You never know how that's going to play out. That's one of the things I really enjoy about it.
Right, and I know, Mike, as I said, our resident historian for the MIAA, I'm sure you're excited for, or looking forward to maybe some new history maybe being made. So you'll have maybe some new notes to be made for maybe next year's show and the year after.
He doesn't have a lot of room here for notes. So.
Well, no, but every game is certainly exciting. And the great part about it is these kids start off in most cases at home. Sometimes they have to go far away to play their first couple of games. But, their eyes are on the big prize to eventually get to Gillette Stadium if they're lucky enough to. So that's a great carrot to dangle in front of yourselves. But the first couple of weeks, kind of feeling out where you're at and the excitement of just keeping it rolling.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see, looking at all these brackets, which we will get into. Is Zavarian, could they win 3 in a row in Division 1? Is West Boylston going to get it done in Division 8 again? We're going to find out here in a few weeks, and we will break these brackets down. But before we get going, here is a message from MIAA Executive Director, Dr. Bob Baldwin.
Here we go again. It's time for the state tournament, and we're very excited. I think the point of emphasis this year, more than anything, is enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. You deserve it, you've earned it, you've made it to this point, and the reality is only one team is going to end up being the state champion, but every team is going to experience, through their parents, through their community, through their school pride, a great experience over the next couple of weeks. Best of luck to all of you. Congratulations to everyone who has had everything to do with this, and enjoy the moment.
All right, thank you, Dr. Baldwin, for that message, and we're going to dive right into it, gentlemen. Let's take a look at Division 8. Get us set up if you're a viewer at home with your 2 box. You can have the Patriots on one screen. You can have us on the other. Make sure we're unmuted, though. So, all right, let's take a look at Division 8. As I say, these are still warm. We take a look at the top seed, Neshoba Valley Tech, 6-2. We were talking a little bit about them before we came on, about their competitive out-of-conference schedule. They scheduled Catholic Memorial, Division II powerhouse, on their schedule this year. That helps when it comes to your strength of schedule, obviously. That's why they are the number 1 seed. Mentioned West Boylston, the multi-time reigning champions in Division 8, also got themselves a championship. In Division 7, I think, was their first of that long run that they're now on. It looks like they locked down that number 3. They're going to be playing another Central Mass team, Bartlett, the number 14 seed. But so when it comes to these brackets, Mike, I want to throw it to you. Just looking especially at these top 8, we see Frontier made it, a Western Mass team, undefeated at number 8. They get that home game against Kip. What jumps out to you just from a historical perspective with these teams up top?
Well, Neshoba Tech, let's start with them. Yeah. Uncharted territory for them. They've never been to a Super Bowl / state championship game.
Wow.
And suddenly they find themselves the number 1 seed. So that in itself is an interesting scenario. West Boylston, defending three-time champion. They won the Division 7 championship in 2022. The last 2 years they were Division 8 champion. And what can you say about Coach Mike Ross? He lands in West Boylston and wins multiple championships. He was in Grafton, Super Bowl champion. Worcester North, Super Bowl champion. I mean, put him, stick him in the middle of the desert, he's going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a winner. Yeah.
I remember, as we talked about before the show, back in my day in Central Mass, he was at Grafton, and that was a team you didn't really want to see because you knew you'd see or hear. You'd probably hear Coach Ross. You'd hear him on the sideline. You'd hear him from the opposite sideline. Didn't matter how loud the student section was. You'd hear him. He's dropping his R's. He's throwing his hat on the ground. He's letting everybody know. So he's still doing it, as you mentioned, Mike. The program, the Lions, back at it again. Going to have that first round home game with the number 3 seed. I see Randolph at number 4. Randolph undefeated. We talked about it a little before the show started. I think it was 21 when they won the state championship, I think, in Division 8. And in the current format, they were the lowest seed to ever win a state championship in this format. So, I mean, especially if you're looking at Division 8, it doesn't matter, what seed you are. It doesn't matter if you're number 16, Springfield International Charter, that has made the state tournament for the first time in program history. It doesn't matter if you're 16 or number 1, especially in this division. It feels like everybody's going to have a chance. What matchups are sticking out to you, Jay, here, just looking at D8?
Well, I would, like we've talked about, West Boylston. You just want to see how they're doing, how they'll stack up against competition in their own division. I also love the fact that Randolph will have a home game taking on Oxford. They're undefeated going into this. I think that's potentially a great story to see how it goes.
And they lost to West Boylston last year at Gillette, so probably
Right.
still stinging from that.
Sure.
And they're undefeated this year. They'd like nothing better than a return trip.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to Division 8, obviously a lot of representation from the West, as I mentioned, Frontier at the number 8 spot with their undefeated regular season, getting that home game. I mentioned Springfield International Charter. They're still in their infancy as a program, but they're jumping the line. They're ready to go, and they're in the playoffs now. Obviously, Lee, a Berkshire powerhouse as well, really a Western Mass powerhouse. Hoosick Valley, of course, another Berkshire powerhouse at 7-1. And then looking down the line, Central Mass, David Prouty in that number 10 spot, another undefeated team making the postseason. I always do love with the brackets, though, them being 1 through 16. I always love the 8-9 matchup every time because it's going to be great. It's going to be competitive.
And then again, Bourne. You get Bourne at number 6.
Yeah.
And, their last trip was back in 2011
Right.
When they won a Super Bowl. But, Bourne has always had some good athletics there, great basketball, and trickles over to football as well this year.
Absolutely. So that's Division 8. That's going to be another just a gauntlet, as it always is every year. I'm interested to take a look, if we can here, and flipping the page, literally and figuratively, to Division 7, if we can here. Let's take a look. The South Shore getting some love. Cohasset, the number 1 seed in Division 7. They're going to play Leicester, the Wolverines, in their first round game, number 16. If you're at home and this is your first time looking at the brackets, it's mine too, so we can kind of break this all down together. I see Rockland versus Tinsboro in that 8-9 matchup. We were talking a little bit before the show about Uxbridge and the running of Camden LaChapelle. Him and his legs and that offensive line have powered them to the number 7 seed. They're going to play Blue Hills. I see a Western Mass team, number 15, South Hadley. The Tigers of South Hadley will be traveling to the North Shore to play Amesbury. But before we get into this a little bit more, what's jumping to you, Mike, when it comes to these?
Well, Uxbridge, number 7, they've won back-to-back championships. They were 2003 champs. They beat Amesbury, who you just mentioned. They also beat Mashpee last year. And so, they're still a team until somebody bumps them off. I mean, even though they're number 7, they're a team to be reckoned with. But you mentioned Amesbury. They were in the Super Bowl in 2023, 8-0 right now. And Northbridge. We got number 4 Northbridge. You talked about Camden LaChapelle. Well, guess what? Grandpa, is right next door with the number 4, 7-1 Northbridge Rams.
Yeah, with Joel LaChapelle throwing the ball.
Sorry, Joel,
Joel LaChapelle throwing the ball at Northbridge.
That's right,
And
yes.
then it was LaChapelle's all over the place.
they're all over the place.
It's hard to keep track of them, Mike. It's difficult.
true,
It's Camden LaChapelle running the ball at Uxbridge, who is, of course, the grandson of Coach LaChapelle,
Yeah.
and then another grandson, Joel, throwing the ball at Northbridge. I remember back in my day, another grandson, Kobe Schofer, throwing the ball at Northbridge. That's the last time I think the Rams of Northbridge were able to lock down a championship. I think, was that 2016? Northbridge.
Northbridge, it was back in 2015.
2015. Okay.
But I'm so old, I remember when Ken's sons were playing. So,
Well,
It must make for an interesting Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, that's the thing. Northbridge plays Uxbridge on Thanksgiving,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it might get hairy at the house.
Absolutely.
Make sure you got plenty of turkey. But yes, I mean, as it relates to Northbridge, just talking a little bit more about them, as we said, they are the number 4 seed, and they're going to play Seekonk. And we're having so much fun talking about them. Is Northbridge on the line? I think we have the Rams on the line with us. Are they here today?
Yeah, we are. All right.
You sound very excited, guys.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the Pats game in the back. Wait, how are they doing? Are they tied?
7-7.
7-7?
7-7, yeah.
Wait, did Drake just throw a dot? What just happened? No, I'm sorry. Never mind.
Looks like, yeah.
Coach
Wait.
Hopper to booty.
People are watching our show. They're recording the Patriots. They want to see you guys. First of all, why don't we have you introduce yourselves going from 64, my old high school number. I didn't get a lot of playing time. Hope you do. So introduce yourself, guys.
I'm Chase Lawson. I play on the line. Number 64, captain.
I'm Joel LaChapelle. I'm senior captain, quarterback. I'm also number 5.
Nate Falconer, senior captain, number 25. I play linebacker, some running back.
I'm Antonio Delfonso. I'm a receiver in a corner. Number 2, senior captain.
I'm Matt Coughlin, number 1, wide receiver.
I'm Kevin DeMuzio, senior wide receiver, number 9, and cornerback.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. You've seen the brackets come out. You know you're going up against Seekonk. Did you kind of sense you were going to end up playing them, or have you even started looking into them at all? Any one of you can answer.
We really had no idea how it was going to turn out. And so, preparation starts as soon as this is over. We're going to go watch film or something. We got to figure out what we're going to do when we end up playing them. So.
Well, that's great. What do you guys? I know ultimately the goal is to win a Super Bowl, but what else? Do you have any other goals? What you're trying to accomplish here in the postseason play?
I mean, obviously, winning the state championship is definitely our main goal, but also just capping off Coach Losh's last season is definitely a goal of ours, which is surrounded by winning the state championship. I mean, right now it's just one thing's ahead of us, and that's just win the next playoff game, and then one after that, and then so on.
All right, that's great. I'm sure you're looking forward to it. You get looks like at least one home game. You may get probably 2 if you happen to advance. What are your plans for preparation this week for Seekonk?
Just watch film and then see what their tendencies are, see how we can game plan to, match up well against them. Maybe put in some different packages,
Well, and that's great. You guys get a home game. You must be very excited about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Good.
knowing that we're seniors, it's probably better that we get as many home games as we can to finish our high school careers on our home turf.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's always a highlight. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. We wish you the best of luck going forward in the tournament. Hope you play well. Hope you stay healthy. But thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
All right, that was the Rams of Northbridge, probably the original Rams, doing it since 1876, right? The Rams of Northbridge. Are they the oldest high school football program in the state, the Northbridge? I feel like no one was doing it before 1876.
It wasn't 18. No, I think it was 18. Bill Ballou would know.
You're right. Bill, did we give Bill a Zoom link?
I think it was 1896.
You're right. I see. This is why.
Because Gardner was 1893. So
I was going to say,
we were there
I maybe it was getting a little, 76, that may have been pre-even football creation. They were probably playing rugby back then. But to talk a little bit more about Northbridge and all things Central Massachusetts, I would like, if we can here, to bring in, I'm going to check the line, Tommy Cassell from the Worcester Telegram. Are you here, Tommy?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Tommy, thank you for joining the show. Appreciate it. I don't know if you saw, we just had the Rams of Northbridge on, a program that I'm sure you're familiar with in your coverage area. And I'd like if we could just kind of start there. We'll kind of jump around. I know you've seen a lot of the really good Central Massachusetts teams this season. You've seen, them. You've seen, maybe a little bit of Clinton, Leominster in Division I, kind of hopped around. But for the people that haven't seen Northbridge play, and obviously we had Joel LaChapelle there, the quarterback, the big guy, here with us chatting a little bit. I know he's been throwing the rock pretty well, and he's been getting some college interest in playing after high school. But when it comes to Northbridge this year, obviously a Ken LaChapelle coach team is going to have a particular type of identity. But when it comes to 2025, this year's Northbridge team, with what you've seen from the Rams, what's the thing that's making them tick from what you've seen from them so far on the sidelines?
Well, it's funny we start with Northbridge because I think I got a butt dialer call from Ken LaChapelle earlier this week at 7 a.m. in the morning. So, be interested to see what the Rams have in store this postseason. But I mean, you talk to those seniors, captains right there. They're a good group. I saw them in week 1 this year when they kind of steamrolled over Clinton after a tight first quarter. So they a lot's been made about the LaChapelle family, and for good reason. Joel's a good quarterback, and his cousin over there at Uxbridge is a great running back. So it should be interesting to see how that plays out. If they both teams take care of business, they could be on a crash course to Gillette Stadium. So it could be interesting, but nonetheless, they'll definitely play on Thanksgiving. We got a long ways to go before we get to Gillette, but the LaChapelles are obviously a good storyline, but there's a bunch of good players on both sides of the ball for Northbridge and Uxbridge. You see a couple there on the screen that you had earlier on from Northbridge. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball a little bit, and the same can be said about Uxbridge. So that's 2 good teams over there in Central Mass that we're definitely keeping our eye on here at the TNG.
Right, and to talk a little bit more about Central Mass and the 508, talking about Northbridge, I see Auburn getting in Division 5. They'll be playing and going on the road to Gloucester. If I recall correctly, I think it was Auburn had a pretty big win. I think, was it against Uxbridge earlier this regular season, Tommy? It was either Uxbridge or it may have been, so Uxbridge, I think they broke that winning streak that Uxbridge had, that regular season winning streak. So Auburn gets in at number 10. You got great teams from all across Central Massachusetts making some noise. You got my Shepherd Hill Rams. They'll be going on the road to play Marblehead here in the first round in Division 4. You got Tantasco getting in. They'll be going on the road to play Scituate. So when it comes to the teams that you've seen, Tommy, in Central Massachusetts, these programs that you've seen that are going on to play in the state tournament, whether it be Divisions 8, 7, 6, 5, or 4, who are the players that have really jumped out to you? There might be people that maybe haven't seen Central Mass football this season, but some Central Mass teams will be going on the road, and some people are going to probably get familiar pretty quickly with what Worcester County football, has going on. Who are some of those players that people that might be outside the region are going to be getting familiar with pretty quickly in the first round, do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to start, for us at least, with our defending state champions from the area in Division 8, West Boylston, Division 7, Uxbridge, and Division 6, Hudson. And Mike and you guys had talked about West Boylston and Mike Ross already, but he's got the double wing offense running to a T again this year. And the running back, Dominic Ranzoni, has been running all over the place. I think he had 4 touchdowns on 5 touches the other day and then 3 interceptions on defense. So he's someone in Division 8 to watch. West Boylston trying to win 4 straight Super Bowl titles. We'd already talked about the LaChapelles over in Division 7, Uxbridge and Northbridge, but we have a couple other teams in Clinton, undefeated team in Tingsboro. But I know you're talking about players. So Camden LaChapelle leads all Central Mass with rushing yards and possibly touchdowns for the Spartans at Uxbridge. So he's a great shifty running back. If you The only downfall for him, I guess, is when he plays on grass. So if he's on turf, he's pretty good. And moving to Division 6, I mentioned the Hudson Hawks had won the Super Bowl title last year, and a lot's been made over Zach Attaway, the head coach, and his son Jake Attaway playing for Hudson the past 4 years, but he's graduated, and the Hawks have a new quarterback named Logan Dome, who's really stepped in under center really well and led them to a 7-win season, the only loss coming to Division I team from Shrewsbury. So I wouldn't count the Hawks out for a chance to repeat in Division 6. And player-wise, you mentioned Auburn. One of the better running backs in the area is a kid named Braden Bellinger. I know he's been a little banged up, so we'll see if he plays in the postseason. And then your Shepherd Hill Rams, Gage, you mentioned they have an old-school offense as well, and their running back, Devin Snowden, has really taken off. No, that's Noah Snowden's over at Marlboro. Devin Roden's over at Shepherd Hill. He's had a great year for them. And I'd be remiss not to mention some of our Division I teams. Usually we don't have the biggest schools here in Worcester competing on the big stage for Division I, but we have Leominster with Osiris Lopez, who might be the best quarterback in the state, dual threat, and I'm sure you guys will get to him later on. Wachusett has a pretty good quarterback in Thomas Anderson. He's done very well with his weapons this year. And St. John Shrewsbury got in the dance for first time in a little while. So the Pioneers have a good young squad with a first-year coach. So there's some good players like the Lopez's, La Chapelles of the world, and Logan Dome, Hudson quarterbacks, did pretty well so far this year.
Awesome. Well, sports editor at the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, Jim Wilson's going to be busy trying to get people to all these Central Mass football playoff games. Central Mass football is alive and well. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be busy these next few weeks, and who knows with Central Mass football, whether it be from D1 with Leominster or Wachusett down to D8 with West Boylston. I'm sure the 508 is going to have maybe some representation at Gillette Stadium for another consecutive year this year. So be sure to subscribe to the Worcester Telegram and Gazette if you don't already. If you don't have your print subscription, you wake up, get your print subscription, get your digital subscription. Be sure to follow Tommy's coverage throughout the next few weeks as the tournament rolls on. Thank you so much for joining, Tommy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, it's Tommy Excel from the Worcester Telegram and Gazette talking a little bit about some Central Mass football, but I would like, if we could, to transition now to Division 6.
One point I was very thankful he brought up Shepherd Hill, since Mike and I got a 45-minute lesson on Shepherd Hill football games before we...
I may have talked a little bit about Shepherd Hill football before the show started. You know, I like to be impartial. You know, I mean, as a reporter, I do the best thing. But, you know, I mean, Shepherd Hill going back to the playoffs the first time in a couple of years. Coach Steve Ide is doing his thing, my former linebacker coach. Yeah. And they run the double wing as well. And they seem to be running it pretty well. They're going to play Marblehead again. I'm doing it. I'm already doing it. I'll save it for D4. I'll save it for D4. As I said, Division 6 is where we turn our attention to. And as I flip that page, I see the pride of the South Shore. Norwell gets that #1 seed. They're going to play Joseph Case in the first round. Fairhaven at #3 program that was in the state championship last year. That was a close game that they played in that title game against Hudson, but as Tommy was talking about, Hudson got that job done. We got a lot here. I see East Bridgewater, #14, getting in. Nantucket, undefeated, gets that #9 seed. But if we want to talk about the historical perspective a little bit here, Mike, in D6, what's jumping out to you with these teams?
Well, again, Hudson champions last year. They've been to, overall, they've been to 7 Super Bowls and have won a couple. Fairhaven as well. They back-to-back Super Bowls, and something that I'm sure Dr. Baldwin's pretty pleased with, obviously, being a Fairhaven guy himself. They've had a good run of success. They beat Salem 2 years ago. And then, Norwell, I mean, having the #1 seed, it's been quite a while for Norwell to be up there. I mean, their last trip to the Super Bowl was 1999. Their last win was 1997. So it's been a long time for them, but, they're certainly happy to be there. Same with Abington. Abington was there in 2021, our #2 seed. They won it in 2019. But then I'm looking at other programs. Bishop Fenwick down at #7. They've had a long run of Super Bowl appearances. They appeared in a total of 7 Super Bowls. Nantucket, down toward, the bottom, middle of the pack. Nantucket has been to 10 Super Bowls, in their time period. So there's a lot of teams that have had some Super Bowl history here in Division 6.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Nantucket. They're going to get on the ferry and head to Pentucket, go on the road and play them. That's the 8-9 game, which I've always mentioned that I do love the 8-9. But for you, Jay, what jumps out to you just looking at these 16 teams here in D6?
Well, for me, it's a local team. Seeing Medway in at number 10 is great to see. They take on Fenwick, which Fenwick is always an exciting and athletic team. But to see Medway succeed, I've seen a couple of their games, and they've looked very, very good this year. So happy for them over there, and AD Jeff Parcells. Bellingham as well, a local team. It's good to see them having a better year from around here. Bellingham can be up and down, but they played well. Coach Haddad has got those guys really running. Although they're 4-4, they've played well in most of their games. So those are a couple of teams locally for us in this area that I'll be watching.
Gotcha. Division 6 is going to be fun, but we mentioned Norwell was the team I saw at the top, the number 1 seed. And I think we have Norwell here joining us today. Is Norwell football on the line?
Yeah, we're here.
All right. We got the gentleman from Norwell. Great setup. They got their Norwell or Clipper swag on. I guess if we could, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. If you could just introduce yourselves, I guess, going down the line here.
My name's Jack Lugarelli. I play quarterback and safety.
My name is Ridley McGillicuddy. I play O-line and D-end.
I'm Dylan Verkamp, and I play O-line and D-line.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Congratulations on locking down that number 1 seed. We were just talking about you a little bit, but for the people, the uninitiated who might not be familiar with what goes down on the South Shore, to talk about you guys a little bit. Averaging over 30 points per game on offense. You dropped 50 on Apponequet early in the season. You guys are 6-2, having a great year. Had a great year last year as well. Made it to the state semifinals, and had a tough game. I think it was in that the semifinals with Hudson, who of course are the eventual champions. And you guys had so much fun being the number 4 seed. You know what? You said let's come back and let's be the number 1 seed this year. So I want to throw it to you guys. After last season, a great year, as I say, the number 4 seed, you go down to the eventual champions. Did you guys have a feeling coming into this year that, like, okay, we got enough gas in the tank here, we got enough guys coming back? Did you guys have a sense that this could be a special year for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, last year losing in the semis, didn't leave a good taste in our mouth. And now we realize, we can get there. And once we all bought into it, and now we believe we can do it. So we have the confidence that we can make this run. And I mean, we would play Hudson in the Final Four again this year. So if we make it there and meet them again, that'd be a nice redemption game.
Gotcha. And as we mentioned, that first round game is going to be against Joseph Case, number 16 Joseph Case. They're going to be coming up and visiting you guys. One thing I guess I'm curious about, for people who might not be familiar with Norwell football, they might not get down to the South Shore too much, or they might not see enough South Shore football, but I anticipate here in the next few weeks that people are probably going to be pretty familiar with the brand of football you guys play. How would you characterize the type of football that you guys play? If there's a team getting ready for Norwell and they got the whiteboard up and it's tomorrow and they're in the weight room and they're getting ready and they're watching your film, what are the things that opposing coaches or teams are putting up on that whiteboard? What are the things that you feel like you guys do particularly well this year, do you think?
I feel like we run the ball really well. We haven't really played a team that hasn't loaded the box against us all season. So, yeah. Yeah,
and when it comes to that, do you feel like that's a big part of your guys' identity? I imagine when it comes to teams that run the ball a lot, you guys are always in the weight room. Football players are always in the weight room. You got to be strong, not to just push other guys around, but to protect yourselves. But when it's a team like you guys that likes to get busy up front, I know you got, as you mentioned, a great offensive line. I know Dylan Verkamp's in there as well, moving bodies around, trying to keep Jack upright over here when he drops back to throw the ball. But How much of weight room culture is instilled in what you guys do, especially as a team that runs the ball a lot? I imagine you guys are, throwing the plates on and getting busy in the summer with on the squat rack. How important is that to you guys?
It's definitely like really important. I think in January is when we started lifting again, 4 days a week. The rest of the school year going into the summer, we were constantly in the weight room as a team, and outside of the weight room too. Like we just would go to the turf together. We just put work in the whole entire year after.
Cool. And I guess the last question, the thing I'm always curious about is going into any particular year. When the season starts, everyone's 0-0. You can find a way to tell yourself like, yeah, we're gonna have a great year, but then sometimes you don't really know until you see it on the field. You could have a good scrimmage. The word's getting around, hey, we might have a good year this year, but sometimes stuff happens and it goes sideways. I'm curious for you guys, was there a particular game this year for you guys or a certain sort of adversity you guys hit that you were able to overcome that made you guys think like, hey, coming into this year, we thought we'd be pretty good, but after this game, this is sort of evidence. Has there been a game like that for you guys so far this season?
I feel like Situate was a pretty big game for us. I don't think I talked to a single person who thought we were going to win that game. We didn't end up winning, but we hung with them the entire game, which was a lot better than we were supposed to.
Right. Absolutely. And then, as we mentioned with the record, the 6-2 record, still put up points on teams this year, as I mentioned, over 30 a game. And you can't really learn. I mean, if you go undefeated, I'm sure that's fun and that's great, but you can't really learn without a couple losses along the way. So sometimes that can kind of help things down the stretch. And you guys seem to be playing, your best football at the right time. So as we mentioned, Norwell here, the Clippers, they are the number 1 seed in Division 6. They're going to play Joseph Case in the first round of the Division 6 state tournament. Norwell, thank you so much for joining us here today, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you.
All right, those are the Clippers of Norwell, as I mentioned, in Division 6. Joining us, they are the top seed. They did really, really good with the coordination. They had the Norwell sort of swag on. The Clippers is a pretty good mascot as well, so love those colors.
They seem to be really pulled together right there.
Yeah.
If that's any indication going forward.
Yeah, they're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Just as we are. If we may, going from 6 to turn the page again, if we can, to Division 5. A division that I'm very interested in taking a look at.
And Gage, I just want our viewers to know that the three of us and cameraman Chris were in the weight room prior to this show.
Just
we
waiting,
were waiting in line
waiting
for some
around,
food.
Yeah.
Can't you tell?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's right. I mean, doesn't everybody get a quick, bench pressing before we go live? Is that just me? I don't know. But I do turn the page and I see Shawsheen Valley Tech at number 1. Obviously, Shawsheen Valley Tech state champions last year. Sid Tildesley no longer there. Doesn't really matter. It's okay. Sid's at Harvard now. He's wrestling, the former quarterback at Shawsheen Valley, but it doesn't matter. It's next man up. They are the number 1 seed again. Foxborough at 6-2, the number 2 seed. Foxborough is Coach Martinelli. I mean, the field is named after the Coach Martinelli. He's been an amazing coach for decades now, and that has not changed this fall with Foxborough. We mentioned Auburn with Tommy earlier. They are at number 10. As it relates to these top 8, Mike, I see St. Mary's, number 8, Gloucester, 7, Archbishop William, 6, North Reading, Medfield, and all the way up. What's jumping out to you about these programs here in this top 8?
Well, Division 5 looks like Groundhog Day, if you ask me. I mean, because, Shawsheen, defending champs, and number 2 is Foxborough, the team that Shawsheen beat last year. So, and then Foxborough were 2023 champs. So, you've got the 2, and then number 3, Hanover was the team that Foxborough beat in 2023. So 1, 2, and 3 all have some familiarity with themselves right there. And number 4, Medfield is undefeated. So you've got a real bottleneck there, I think, as you see that. And then number 5 with North Reading is a team that went to the Super Bowl in 2022 and won. So you take a look at the last 4 years, 3 years, and you have teams there that have some great familiarity with Super Bowls and with Super Bowl victories. So, and meaning that there are kids that are probably freshmen or that were freshmen on the team that are now seniors in all of these programs that have been to Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, a lot of that always interests me when there are the young guys on the team that are a part of a team that does have success and goes to a state championship.
Sure.
They might not be contributing because they're young, they're helping get the waters and such, but you're able to observe and you're able to sort of say, okay, how does this thing get done? What are the gears? What needs to happen in the future for us to get here? And very obviously, as you mentioned, a lot of those teams in that top eight.
They're not as wide-eyed as some of the teams that go there for the first time, and we've been here. We've seen this before. Now we get to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you mentioned, within that top eight, North Reading, Medfield, Groundhog Day is a good way to sort of describe it. A lot of these programs here, especially in that top eight, are very familiar with postseason success and being there and going deep. Archbishop Williams at number 6, a program we've talked a little bit about. They got first-year quarterback Hudson Garrity. Stepped into the role of starting quarterback. He's a guy, with scholarship offers from, I think, the University of Massachusetts and Syracuse. And he and the skill position players in that defense have done a great job at Archbishop Williams. As you can tell by the undefeated record, they are number 6, and they will play number 11 Swampscott, which will definitely be the biggest challenge that they've had so far this season. So I'm very interested in that 6-11 matchup in that part of the bracket. But for you, Jay, just looking at Division 5, what interests you?
Well, just quickly, and this is more from a local perspective, want to see how Medfield does. Coming off an undefeated season in the Tri-Valley League, they take on Northeast Metro Regional, who comes in at 5-3. I think that could be a real interesting matchup for those guys. Foxborough Norton. That should be a really good game, or has the potential to be a good game. Both teams are tremendously coached. As you said, Coach Martinelli has a field named after him, so that's pretty good. And they'll be playing on that field. Those are the two ones that kind of stick out. On the side, I love Archbishop Williams. Fortunate to know a couple of people there, and it's great to see them winning and having the success.
Absolutely. It's, as always, a loaded bracket here, 16 teams, 1 through 16. I always mention I do, as I say, love that 8-9 matchup.
Yeah.
St. Mary's of Lynn against Greater Lawrence Tech. That's the 8-9. Greater Lawrence Tech is going to go on the road to play St. Mary's. And speaking of Greater Lawrence Tech, do we have Greater Lawrence Tech on the line with us here today?
Yeah, we're here.
Awesome. That's great. I'm glad it worked out. Guys, it's great to have you here on the show. Thank you for joining us. Why don't we have you introduce yourself, going from, well, you guys start with whoever you want.
Junior captain is Monty, O-line, D-line. Senior captain Jane Mill, O-line, D-line.
Senior captain Jordan Cologne, O-line, D-line.
Senior captain Zan Pazilla, quarterback.
It's good to see someone in the backfield represented here as one of your captains. Guys, talk a little bit about the success you've had this year, if you've done anything different, and what you feel like going forward.
So it all started once last season finished. We knew that last season wasn't our best season, and we made sure this season we weren't going to leave no regrets behind. So starting from the morning workouts to then summer workouts to then actually practicing with the school in a whole different environment. Our coaching staff, our new coaching staff, everything's great. Everybody wants to be here. And with that, we're having great success.
That's great to hear. You talked about the work you've done in the off season. We just had the Norwell team on, and they mentioned the same exact thing. How do you find that helping you guys going forward and surviving health-wise through this entire season?
So how I see it is not only are we getting better, but we're building chemistry. Because if you have a team where you guys are just playing as individuals, you guys aren't going to have success. But if you have a team that everybody's working as one and working as a unit, and that's when it all starts. When you guys are all waking up at 6 in the morning when everybody's tired and everybody doesn't want to be there. But that's when you push through and you really get there, and that's what builds a chemistry, and that's what I think moving forward is going to help us the most.
What do you guys know about St. Mary's? Have you had a chance to start looking at them? Did you kind of sense they were one of the teams you might draw? Where do you stand with them?
We earlier in the season, they were our first scrimmage, so I mean, we know a little bit about them, but I'm sure they're a very different team now, just like we are. We ended up losing in that scrimmage, but now they don't know who we are. We're the Reggies. We're coming here to work, and we're a new team, and we're ready for them.
Where was your scrimmage? Was it at home or down at St. Mary's?
It was down at St. Mary's.
Okay, so at least you've been in that environment. That'll definitely help you out. Anything else you guys would like to add?
Reggie football, we're back.
All right. That's great to hear. Well, guys, best of luck against St. Mary's and going forward. Have a great postseason and stay healthy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, shout out to the Orange and Black. Shout out to the Reggies. And as they mentioned, I mean, it was a tough year last year for Greater Lawrence Tech. But they've talked about that work in the offseason, and they just sort of decided, like, hey, we're not going to do that again. And they didn't. Mm-hmm. They are in the postseason, and they're going to head on the road. So best of luck to Greater Lawrence Tech, and thank you again to the Reggies for joining us. Once again, state tournament bound in Division 5. And if we can turn the page to Division 4, I would love to take a look at this bracket with you guys. I'll keep the Shepherd Hill talk to a minimum, I promise. Looking at Division 4, Scituate at number 1. They're going to be taking on Tantascwa. Tantascwa is going to be going on the road and playing one of the South Shore's best. Once again, my love, the number 8 versus 9. Walpole going on the road to Bedford. What interests me about Walpole here in this bracket in Division 4 is the past few years Walpole has been a Division 3 program, and they play in the Bay State Conference. They are in a conference with predominantly Division 1 and Division 2 schools. So just looking at their record, you'll see that 4-4. And if you're a team from outside, the Bay State Conference area, the Metro West area, you might think like, oh, 4-4, like 500 team. But that is one of the best 4-4s probably in the state with the programs that Walpole plays. They play Milton, they play Natick. They're playing. I mean, Natick is. We'll get to Natick. One of the better teams in the entire state. Not just Division 1. So do not take the Timberwolves lightly. They were a lower seed, I think, in last year's Division 3 bracket. Went on a run and made it all the way to the state semifinals. So it doesn't matter where Walpole is. If they're in the dance, they're gonna start tangling a little bit. So and as I mentioned earlier, of course, Shepherd Hill at number 11 going on the road to play Marblehead for a second time this year. But if we could, Mike, to turn it to you, the resident historian, looking at the top 8, I see Bedford at 8, Ashland going up, Marblehead, Burlington, the Dragons of Duxbury, which are seemingly always happen to be in this top 4. What jumps out to you in D4 historically?
Well, this is a little groundhoggy, I guess you could say as well, because again, Scituate seeded number 1. They're defending Division 4 champs. They defeated Duxbury last year. The previous year it was Duxbury defeating Scituate. So Duxbury's the number 4 seed this year. You have at number 2 Tewksbury, which is 8-0. Their last trip to the Super Bowl was in 2018. So it's been a while for them, but an 8-0 record is nothing to sneeze at. Look at number 5, Burlington, also an 8-0 team right now. So you've got teams that are kind of duking it out, and there'll be some interesting games as you're working your way up the bracket there. Teams like Marblehead, like Ashland, also strong programs from the past that may have something to say about those teams in the upper division as well.
Right. And for you, Jay, when it comes to, obviously we see Canton at number 3 in a program that's a bit local, but just I guess looking at whether it be Canton or the rest of the field, what jumps out to you in D4?
So Canton, I saw their first game of the year against Franklin where they were in total control from the opening kickoff. I want to see how that's translated as their season's gone forward. Obviously, Holliston, a local team, and formerly the Franklin head coach used to coach at Holliston. So I want to see how that program's kind of rebounded since Coach Kiley left. But I really do want to see the Shepherd Hill, see how they do. not just for you, Gage. We're all pulling for them. But Shepherd Hill, I think, is always such an interesting program because of the size of the school, the area, and everything. Is we were saying before we came on, Shepherd Hill can be a challenge to find that school if you haven't been out there before. So I look forward to watching them.
You know, you talk about try to find your way home.
Yeah, that I can't do. Yeah. I also enjoy watching some of these matchups where you've got teams that, you know, you brought up Walpole. 4-4. People may be questioning that. What are they doing? Yet, when someone gets up against them, such as Bedford, they'll realize that 4-4 is not 4-4.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Right. It's a very strong 4-4. And once again, as always, Division 4 very strong. I would like, if we could, to now take a look as we continue to go down the line, take a look at Division 3, which now a new face in Division 3. Division 3 is, we're about to get into it, is absolutely just wild division this year. King Philip, new to the division, previously in Division 2 these last few years. They've sort of kicked the door down and they said, okay, we're here now. They have won that #1 seed in Division 3. Chicopee Comp will go on the road and play King Philip in that first round game. Chicopee Comp undefeated regular season. They've found a new home in their new league, and they've wasted no time in finding success with head coach Graham Raymond and all those kids over at Chicopee. So congratulations to them for locking down that 16 seed. I look at 8 versus #9. The Mansfield-Plymouth South matchup is really interesting. I see North Attleboro at #7, a program that I saw earlier in the regular season play Mansfield. Mansfield ended up winning in a pretty impressive game by the Hornets, but North Attleboro, with that #7 seed, will welcome Milford to their really nice football stadium. I don't know if you guys have been to North Attleboro football. They got a big screen.
Oh, yeah.
They got instant replays.
They've done it over.
It's really good.
Yeah, it really is.
I was like, I got to start seeing some more Red Rocketeer football. Well, we probably might hear, just because they are a fixture, Mike, North Attleboro typically is when it comes to seeing Gillette Stadium, such as programs like Mansfield R and King Philip in Division 2. Also, now in Division 3 is used to playing at Gillette Stadium. But when it comes to the historical perspective here with all these great programs, what's jumping out to you in that top 8?
Well, you mentioned North Attleboro. I mean, they're seeded #7. They're defending Division 3 champs. They've been to 12 Super Bowls. They've won 8 of them. Mansfield has been to 12 Super Bowls, have won 8 of them. King Philip, 4 straight trips to the state finals, albeit in Division 2. Now they're down in Division 3 with an 8-0 record. I'm happy for, being a Cape guy now, Barnstable. My friend Ross Stratcola, who's the coach over at Barnstable, their only loss was to LaSalle Academy of Rhode Island. So they've taken on all comers in Massachusetts and defeated them this year. He's turned the program around quite nicely. So there's really some outstanding programs here. Marshfield has had a good run. Their last trip was to the Super Bowl in 2023, where they lost to King Philip. Marshfield has been to 11 Super Bowls in their past. There's a lot of teams here that have had long Super Bowl histories here.
Yes, absolutely. And another thing that's jumping out to me as you're talking about it, Mike, is just looking at Division 3, is a lot of these programs during this regular season have already played each other.
Yeah.
So there's familiarity, not just when it comes to going deep in the postseason for themselves, but with each other. I mentioned Mansfield is #8. I watched them play North Attleboro as #7. I know that when it comes to Milford, if I'm seeing them correctly, at #10, the #10 seed with a 4-4 record, they had an impressive win earlier in the regular season against Division 1 Leominster. They had, I think, did one of the better jobs this entire regular season pass defense-wise against Osiris Lopez, who is committed to Coastal Carolina, as Tommy, who joined us earlier, talked about. So if you're throwing the ball and you're playing Milford, you're going to want to break down that tape. There's going to be wide receivers coaches probably putting in overtime, watching the tape, getting ready for that Milford game, which is what North Attleboro, who they're going to be playing. But when it comes to the bracket for you, Jay, just looking at Division 3, what interests you about these 16 teams?
Well, the first thing that kind of shown out to me, if that's a word, if it's not,
it is now.
Is,
Congratulations.
Thank you. My English teacher in high school, Miss Strelo, would be very happy. There of the 16 teams, 4 of them from the Hockomock League: King Philip, North Attleboro, Milford, Mansfield. Just always top programs, not just in their league, but they're always top programs throughout the state. They've been coached really well. Coach Lee at King Philip, as good a guy as they come. Mike Redding over at Mansfield, Dana Olson at Milford, and Mike Strachan down at North Attleboro. They know the local makeup, and they've done very well. They're all tremendous coaches. Seeing Milton get in there is great to see. And then the game that probably sticks out the most to me, I think, is that Milford North Attleboro game, because I've seen both teams, but they also play such a tough league, as we've talked about some other teams. 4-4 is not a normal 4-4. We talked about that with Walpole. They have a potential, if some things click the right way for them, to go on a run here, and they're well coached. I just look forward to see what they're able to do going forward.
Yeah, and when it comes to strength of schedule, you mentioned Milton, a program who just, I think it was Thursday or Friday night, just beat Natick.
Yep.
Natick, a Division I team, who's sort of in the middle of, this year's Natick team, which we'll talk about when we get to Division I, feels like one of those teams that, when everyone's like 10 years old and it's like, oh, wait till these kids get to high school. And they've been playing great. They had a very close loss to King Philip.
Yeah.
And now they played Milton the other day, and Milton, that's a huge win for Milton against a really good Natick team, so that helps them lock down.
And Milton is back-to-back defending champ. They won it in 23 and 24. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Division III, just a wild bracket. So it's going to be really competitive during these next few weeks. But I would like, if we can, to flip the page to Division II. To no one's surprise, we got Catholic Memorial at number 1. They locked down a bye. I see undefeated Winchester, who we're going to be speaking here with in the next minute or so, undefeated with their number 4 seed. Looks like Winchester is going to welcome North Quincy to town in their first round game. North Quincy with the number 13 seed. We see Bishop Feehan at number 2, Bridgewater Raynham number 3 with a 5-3 record. And then when it comes to that 8-9 game, Wellesley locking down that 8 seed, welcoming Plymouth North to town. And Wellesley, it's been a battle-tested year for them. They're a team that I saw early in the season. They had tried to stage a late comeback against Andover in a really good game, a kick return touchdown by Tennyson Charney, who's going to Holy Cross. Made it really competitive at the end, but Andover just squeaked it out. So Wellesley does, on their record, have a couple close losses, but I'm sure that's got them fired up and ready for the postseason. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk to Winchester here in a minute. We're going to break down this bracket a little bit more, but I want to, if we can, Mike, just again look at the history here in Division II. Obviously, these last few years, Catholic Memorial has been making a lot of that history in this division, but a lot of really strong historical programs in here, like Wellesley that I mentioned, like Beverly that I mentioned, of course Feehan. But what's jumping out to you here in Division II?
Well, obviously Catholic Memorial, they defeated King Philip last year, and they're probably going, King Philip, thanks, see ya. They've won 4 straight, appearances in Super Bowls in 2022, 21, actually 5 straight. I mean, 18, 19, 21, and 22, in addition to last year. They're 8-time Super Bowl champions. Bishop Feehan has had 10 Super Bowl appearances with 7 Super Bowl wins. Bridgewater Raynham, they've appeared in 10 Super Bowls. They've never won one. It's got to end for them at some point in time. And they're too good of a program this year not to see that. And then, Winchester, 8-0 this year, have had a good run as well. So there's, Division II is going to be a very interesting race, some interesting races in that division.
Absolutely. What about you, Jay, with what you're seeing from these 14? What jumps out to you?
One thing, just to follow on what Mike said, Bridgewater Raynham, it's good to see them having a successful year, being the number 3 seed. The coach, Ian Bain, who was a successful coach here in Franklin, moving over to BR, replacing a coach in between, but Dan Buron's success with BR was well documented. To be able to see another coach and Coach Bain being such a good guy, seeing them have success, that's the team I'm going to really want to watch there. Obviously, Fian and Catholic Memorial, you always have to keep an eye on those two schools because they've just always get such good athletic programs across multiple sports, not just football.
Yep, absolutely. And we did mention Winchester, as I say, the number 4 seed. They are, from what I can tell, the only undefeated team in this bracket in Division II, and they're having one of their best seasons in multiple decades. And it's got me thinking, what is going on with the black and red? So let's just ask them. Let's just ask them. Is Winchester football, are they on the line?
Yeah, we're here.
All right, here they are, Winchester football. Thanks for joining us. Well, hey, I would have dyed my hair even blonder if I knew we were doing that. Well, when did we dye this recently? Was this done in the sink? When did we get this done?
Yeah, we just did it yesterday for the playoffs.
I did not get that memo.
Looking fresh.
Obviously.
They didn't.
Neither.
I
no one
certainly
told
would have
us
done
old
that.
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it pretty natural, decent right now, but I would have toned it a little bit for you guys. But anyway, let's get into the nitty gritty, gentlemen. I gave you a little bit of an intro if you were listening in before we started, but just to put this season into context a little bit for you guys. Before we do that, let's just look at last year. You get to the quarterfinals last year as the number 6 seed, fell to Marshfield, a great program. But you guys, you were still hungry. You weren't satisfied. You came back for another helping this year. Ripped off an undefeated regular season. One of your best seasons in the last 35 or so years. Finished up your regular season with a 42-8 victory against Belmont on Thursday. So you took care of business there. And before, I guess, getting into this, we should do some introductions. So if we could start with the gentleman with the green sweatshirt on the end. If you could introduce yourself and then kind of go down the line here.
Yeah, I'm Giada DePremi. I'm a senior. I'm a running back.
I'm Lucas Chiquino. I'm a O-line and D-line, also captain. I'm Brian Harrison. I play linebacker and O-line. I'm also a senior captain.
I'm Michael Ficacello. I'm a tight end and D-end, and I'm also a senior captain.
Awesome. Well, I guess I should say firstly, thank you for joining us, gentlemen. But so, Brian, I want to start with you because I am partial as a former lineman. I need to talk to a guy that's in the trenches every day. So I want to open it up to you first. I just kind of put your guys' season up to this point in a little bit of context. Of course, people might see the record and they think like, oh, maybe Winchester's just rolling over guys, but that's just not the way it goes. You guys are obviously putting in that work. I'm sure last off season, I'm sure every day at practice, you guys are working really hard. But when it comes to the red and black this year of Winchester, for people that might not be familiar with the way you guys get down, what is it about Winchester football this year? How would you characterize the way that Winchester, you guys play football this year?
I would say to start off, it's like all starts with our effort. The last 2 years we've gone 8-3, 2 years in a row, and like got knocked out second round of playoffs. And all 4 of us have been playing since our sophomore year, and we know since it's our senior year, like we need to step up, and that started with effort. Like in the weight room, as soon as last season ended, we were all in the weight room every day, on the field every day. And we definitely put in more effort in the offseason than we have previously. And then that effort that we consistently put in, we've shown during practice, which is then translated over to games. And then so we're always just giving the best effort we can. And so we play hard. We play with great effort. I would say we're definitely a grittier team than we usually are this year, and that's led us to some pretty good success so far.
Awesome. Well, it's definitely showing. I mean, it's showing on both sides of the ball, but if we can just, stats don't tell the whole story, but scored at least 40 points in 7 of your 8 games so far this regular season, and now you're taking that resume to the postseason, as we mentioned, playing North Quincy in the first round. But I guess I want to open this up to any of you guys. We talked a little bit about it earlier with one of our programs that jumped on, but going into any particular year, you're always 0-0. You can think, this is our year, but you don't really know until the sort of rubber hits the road what you guys really have. I'm sure you had some scrimmages in the preseason. Things probably went kind of well, thinking like, hey, we might have something here. But was there a moment for you guys during this regular season where you felt like to yourselves, I'm sure you guys always knew this was going to be the type of year you wanted, but was there a moment, whether it be a game or something else, where you guys felt like, okay, this is the proof that, we're going to have the type of year that we want? Was there a moment like that for you guys during this fall?
I would say like the Masconomic game. It was our third out of league game, and like coming into the game, everyone was saying that we were gonna lose. All the teams were taking them above us, and then you know, we got on them early. We blew them out pretty well. What was the score? It was like
56-14.
Yeah, 56-14 on like a very like strong football team. Like the PB and Waltham weren't like super strong competitors, but they were definitely a very well coached team. And then after we took care of business there, we knew that we had something special.
Right. I mean, you just mentioned that Masconomet team. That's Masconomet. You know, not a lot of people are doing that to Masconomet this year. They had a great game against Marblehead, you know, a few weeks ago. So, yeah, I probably agree. That's definitely one you sort of plant the flag down and say, you know, Winchester football, we're not messing around in 25. But I posed this question to another team earlier, and again, anybody can, you know, kind of answer it. But you mentioned, you know, the hard work in the off season, whether it be in the gym or in the weight room and at practice. But when it comes to just the way that Winchester football plays the game, you know, I pose the question of, you know, let's say there's a team getting ready to play you guys this postseason, whether it be North Quincy, whether it be whoever. What are the things that they're seeing on film where they're saying like, all right, this is what jumps out? If you were to watch your guys' own film, which I'm sure you do anyway, what is it about the way you guys play the game this year? How are you guys getting those points? 40 points in 7 or 8 games. Are we running the ball? Are we going between the tackles? Are we giving you a lot of work in the trenches? Are we airing it out? What's the way that Winchester goes about playing the game on offense this year?
Yeah, so the way that we play, you know, as Brian said, we're more of a gritty team. We like to run the ball, and we have a whole lot of fun doing it. So, and we're also a really fast team. We don't have like, you know, 6-foot guys that are almost 300 pounds. We got a bunch of gritty guys that are fast, and we have an athletic line, and we like to play fast. So we're definitely running the ball a lot, and also our wide receivers are all stud athletes. They're incredible athletes. So if a team's taking away the run, then we're gonna air it out and put more points up there.
Awesome. Well, it's obviously, as I said, working for you guys with the way things have been going offensively, putting up those points every week. As I mentioned, had that game against Belmont on Thursday. Once again, dropped 42 points on them to lock down an undefeated regular season. Once again, this is Winchester football joining us today. They, as I said earlier in the interview, played Marshfield in the quarterfinals last year in a tough game, but the Red and Black are back for more, and it starts with North Quincy in the first round. Thank you so much, gentlemen from Winchester, for joining the show today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, that is Winchester football. As I mentioned, the only undefeated team in Division II that qualified for the postseason, so they want to try and make that 8-0 a 9-0 against North Quincy. But now we put the cherry on top of the cake, the muffin, the cupcake, whatever we want to say, to talk about Division I. So let's flip to the final page here as we take a look at the Division I MIAA bracket. We see St. John's Prep, a team I just saw yesterday against Catholic Memorial, in that number 1 seed spot. They are undefeated. They are the only undefeated team in this Division I bracket. They are number 1 in D1, and to most people, probably number 1 in the entire state, especially with that win over Catholic Memorial now. They will play Framingham. They will welcome Framingham to Danvers in their first round game in the round of 16. I see Natick, a program that we just talked about, coming off a tough loss to Milton. But with that body of work, they're able to lock down that number 4 seed. And we see Springfield Central at number 2. Has that, as they always do, a great out-of-league schedule where they played St. John's Prep week 1, came down to the final play. St. John's Prep was able to lock down the win. Springfield Central also has a win over Mansfield as well. And so just a really competitive, and a win over Xaverian on the road as well. So they did more than enough to lock down that number 2 seed. And I see Wachusett, number 6, a Central Mass power as well. We see Leominster locks down their home game against Franklin, a program Jay knows well. But I want to turn it to you, Mike, just looking at these teams. We do have a newcomer that's not usually in the state tournament, with Framingham getting that number 16 seed, their first playoff appearance in over half a decade. But a lot of these teams, I'm seeing some familiarity, but you'd be the one to know. What are you looking at in these with these top 8?
Just an array of storied programs that have been here before. I mean, obviously, the number 3 seed Xaverian, they're defending champs. They beat Needham last year for the Division I title. St. John's Prep, was there in 2023. They lost to Xaverian, but they won the 2023. I'm sorry, the 2022 championship. They beat Springfield Central. Springfield Central has been to the Super Bowl 13 times, winning 9 titles in their own right. Xaverian has had 16 Super Bowl appearances, winning 10 of them. St. John's Prep has won 6 titles. So, a lot of these programs have just had a tremendous run. Natick, back in the day, had their last Super Bowl win goes back to 2005, but they've appeared in 7 Super Bowls. And Wachusett, Wachusett out in Central Mass has never lost a Super Bowl. They've been to 4 of them and have won all 4. And then you did mention another Central Mass team, Leominster, maybe the granddaddy of them all, as they say, 17 trips to the Super Bowl with 12 wins. So, you're looking at, just as I said, some storied programs here. And Central Catholic, too. Central Catholic is a school that's had a great run in its own right. They have been to 6 Super Bowls, winning 3 of them. So, there's a lot of teams here that can point to banners on their gymnasiums and, ask the question, why not us? And here's their chance.
Absolutely. You mentioned, Central Catholic locking down that number 5 seed, 5-3 record on their resume, probably the resume topper so far. They're hoping to add more, but the regular season win against Xaverian came down just a few weeks ago to the final play. Xaverian scores to go down by 1. Xaverian goes by 2 to try and go for the win. Central Catholic stands up, makes the defensive stand, and we're going to be talking to some players from Central Catholic here pretty soon. But just looking at this bracket, Jay, looking at Division I, obviously we see Franklin in that 8-9 matchup against Leominster. They'll be going on the road to play against Osiris Lopez and that Blue Devil offense. But when it comes to, I guess, the rest of this bracket, looking at it at large, looking at all 16, what jumps out to you, Jay?
I find it interesting. 2 of the teams, 14 seed Brockton and 15 seed Taunton, come in at 3 and 5. Neither of those teams can be overlooked. Their record may be 3 and 5, but they both play extremely tough schedules. Taunton, coached by Brad Sidwell, has done a great job. That 3 and 5, I've watched a couple of their games, is not a 3 and 5 team. They've had a couple of tough breaks. So I'm curious to see how those guys do against these other top teams. Obviously, Brockton has a challenge in Xaverian. Anyone who plays Xaverian has a challenge, especially this time of year. Taunton against Springfield Central. Long ride for Taunton. If they play on a Friday night, that's a real long ride out there. But Coach Sidwell will have them up to that challenge. So those are the kind of the things I'm looking for to be able to watch down the road.
Right, you talk about battle-tested programs like Taunton, like Brockton. Another one, as we mentioned earlier, Central Catholic at 5 and 3, still locking down that number 5 seed. Obviously, I mentioned previously that win against Xaverian in the last moments obviously helps their power ranking. And we want to maybe talk a little bit more about Central Catholic by bringing them in. Is Central Catholic on the line with us today?
We're here.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Why don't we start off? Why don't the 2 of us, or 2 of you, introduce yourself? We already know who we are.
I go first. My name is Manny Lizardo, and I'm captain.
My name is Caden Chase, also a captain. I play running back.
Okay. Great. Let's first of all, Gage has brought it up a couple of times. Talk about that win against Xaverian, what that's done for you guys and your team as a whole.
Yeah, that win versus Xaverian was definitely huge, mostly because they've won back-to-back state championships here in Division I, Massachusetts, but also just how good that team is and how the past couple of years we've played them, it's came down to the wire, and especially last year we lost by possession. The year before that we lost by a couple of scores, and we just left those games knowing that we're good enough to beat these teams, but we just couldn't get it done at the end of the day. So being able to, win by only a point was huge for our confidence, saying that we can beat anyone in the state of Massachusetts. And I just think that was able to get our momentum going for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It needs to be mentioned how big a win that was for you guys. A lot of schools see Xaverian on their schedule, and they know they're going to be in for a battle. How has that helped you guys move forward, prepare for the state tournament?
Yeah, having this hard schedule, especially opening up, going to New York to play Archbishop Stepinac, and then playing teams like BC High, Bishop Hendricken, St. John's Prep, Andover, Methuen, like Xaverian, having that crazy schedule, it's definitely hard, but it allows us not to take the foot off the gas. And every week it's like a Super Bowl. I know some teams around the state, they have some easy games, and they look at some games and like, all right, maybe we don't have to practice as hard, or we can take this team light. But every game, like I said, it's like the Super Bowl. Every game we treat it like it's going to be our last game, and it just allows us not to keep our foot off the gas. And we know that every game we got to bring out 100%, and it just motivates us every week to just stay on top of our things.
How, going forward with your game this week, how do you expect St. John's to prepare for you? What do you bring to the game? What's your kind of strength that you guys have been working on and you hope to rely on come this weekend?
We hope to rely on our physicality as a team. We have good team chemistry up front on both sides of the ball, defense and offense. And one big aspect we have is communication. No matter what we do or what happens in the game, we're always communicating, making sure that everyone's on the same page so we can make the next play if something goes wrong. But we always execute what the coaches tell us to do, and that's what helps us and leads us for success against teams, even the better teams. But even a team like St. John Shrewsbury, we can't underestimate them at all. Like, now that we're in the playoffs, anything can happen, and we just gotta keep going and get what we can get.
Awesome. Well, that's great, guys. I wish you success in the postseason. Stay healthy, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, that was Central Catholic. Coach John Sexton has the guys playing well right now. As I mentioned, Central Catholic 5-3 locked down that number 5 seed, and as you said, they will play St. John Shrewsbury from the Catholic Conference. They'll welcome them up to Lawrence for that first round game. But I did mention some teams earlier as it relates to Division I, like Natick and others in Division I and Division II. We mentioned Lincoln Sudbury a little bit, and if I could, just to expand that conversation a little bit more, because we got 16 great teams here, I want to bring in an old friend of the show and a friend of mine. Is Kyle Grabowski from the Metro West Daily News on the line?
I would go as far as to say frequent collaborator.
So I don't even have to ask if Kyle's on the line. I know he's going to be on the line. Well, thank you so much for joining, Kyle. We just spoke with Central Catholic, who, as we say, locked down that number 5 seed in the Division I tournament. But I do see Natick at number 4, a team in your coverage area that you are very familiar with. We talked just a little bit earlier in the show about teams like Hudson, and then there's Lincoln Sudbury as well. You do have a number of great teams that you cover for the Metro West Daily News. And you've been on the sidelines for a lot of really good games, especially this season. We mentioned Milford as well. So we'd love to pick your brain a little bit. Starting in Division I with Natick. It's a program that you just saw recently play against Milton, if I'm correct. And I saw them myself against King Philip. They got Mike Whalen moving bodies in the trenches. They got Jesse Gagliardi, no longer playing quarterback, but he's doing whatever his coach needs him to do. You got James Mortarelli flying all over the place on defense. You got Jack Shosted running the ball all over the place. But when it comes to Natick, if we want to start there, Kyle, what is jumping out to you about Natick this year? What's the identity? What kind of jumps off the page?
I think they play in a way that translates really well to this time of year. You're leaning on your offensive line. You have 3 to 4 guys that can run the ball. So if they get a lead on you, and then it's just like you're swimming upstream because you're having to deal with, you're not going to get the ball that many times. They run the ball in a way that's not just turn around and hand it to the running back. There's a lot of movement from the guards, and the holes open up in unexpected ways. Like, I remember watching against Milton, like, okay, what are they doing? There's nothing, and all of a sudden there's a huge lane, and you have the running back running out of there. And I just think that can be really, like, frustrating to play against if you just know, like, okay, they're going to try and run it at us, but we can't really do much about that. And especially there was a period against Milton where they went to Gagliardi back at quarterback and did a lot of sort of like wildcat jet sweep type stuff. And just to have that in your back pocket, just as a lot of different ways to hurt you. And their quarterback, Matt Casey, just really can provide just another element to hit some of those guys. But I think just defensively, they're just mean, like a bunch of guys that are just willing to put their face mask right into the middle of the action. So I just think it is a style of play that translates really well to this time of year. If you have a lot of teams that they'll spread out, they'll get cute, but there's nothing cute about Natick. They're just going to play football and hit you.
Absolutely. I mean, and you mentioned Matt Casey, kid who was playing JV last year for Natick. But they made a move. Jesse Gagliardi was the quarterback last year, and coaches felt like, and Jesse did a great job at quarterback last year for Natick. But they felt like it'd be best for him to play fullback. So now Jesse Gagliardi playing fullback in Natick, and he's opening up a lot of those lanes that Kyle was talking about in the run game for guys like Jack Shosted and others. And the times I've seen Natick play, Matt Casey's been able to throw the ball pretty well. But another thing, Kyle, I want to open up to you. As I mentioned, the type of football that you're able to watch, covering the Metro West area. You got teams like Natick, who we just talked about, Lincoln Sudbury, Ashland, Medfield, and Hudson. So it's a lot of good teams that are in the postseason. I'm sure you're going to be very busy, and so will the rest of the Metro West staff. But when it comes to the teams that you cover that are going into the postseason, like those I just mentioned, we've mentioned guys like Matt Casey, Mike Whalen from Natick, and things like that. But with some of these teams that are going to be maybe going on the road from your region and maybe going to places they've never been before, and they'll be playing teams that haven't heard of them before, who are some of the players that you've seen from teams that you've covered this season that are going to the postseason that maybe the rest of the state is going to be learning a lot more about here pretty quickly in the next week or so, do you think?
I mean, the number one guy that jumps to mind is Kevin Ozalumba from Ashland. He is a guy that, he just puts the fear of God into you every time he touches the ball, because I feel like every time I've watched him, he rips off like a 70-yard touchdown, and he just doesn't get tired. Like, they just keep handing it to him, but it's also one of those things where you can't just be like, okay, we're going to stop this guy, because then they have other options. But he's just somebody where he became their all-time leading rusher this year. He has like a couple 200-300-yard games. Just somebody that, he's the guy, he's the guy, but there's really not a lot you can do about that. He's so fun to watch, such a great kid. He's definitely the first one that pops into mind. Let me think. Definitely, Milford has a quarterback, Lascarbo, that has come on and done good things. Alex Weber from Franklin, who I'm sure you guys are intimately familiar with, just does just about everything. And he's another guy that where it's like if you need a yard, he's getting the ball and they know it. Those are a couple big ones. I'm clicking through the brackets. From Lincoln Sudbury, they're a 5 seed, but you have Mason Tarantino. His brother Cooper was a quarterback 2 years ago. He's now playing baseball at Northeastern, but Mason has really made that team his own. Their backfield with him and Matthew Tasker, and then they have really just a beefy line that they run behind. So I have really liked what I've seen from Lincoln Sudbury as well.
Awesome. Well, as I said, you're going to be pretty busy, I think, here these next few weeks. But going from Division I with Natick and others down to 6 and beyond with Hudson. You mentioned Ashland as well, who's in Division 4. So you and the Metro West staff is going to be busy. Make sure you subscribe to the Metro West Daily News, whether it be in print or digital. Heck, even both. Why not? Give Kyle a follow on X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days, and other socials. Make sure to read his stories. I'm sure he's going to be somewhere on the sideline, hopefully bundled up for a game next week on Friday night. So thank you so much, as he says, and I will say as well, our frequent collaborator, Kyle Grabowski. Thanks so much for joining the show.
Thanks, man. Nobody bundles up more than I do.
As we should this time of year, as we turn to November. Thank you again to Kyle. Wow, gentlemen, what a show we've had, and what great analysis we've had, not just from Kyle, from Tommy, and of course the brain trust here at the stable, and the great guests that we've had. I think it's going to be a fun next few weeks. What do you guys think?
I am really looking forward to it. This is a great time of the year. We were talking about before we came off the air. What a fun time of the year to be able to sit around, talk high school football, all high school fall sports and then be able to watch them.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and I mean, let's not sell volleyball and field hockey and soccer short.
Correct.
Yes.
But there's nothing like football. You know, football brings the cheerleaders. Football brings the band. Football brings the fans. Football's a social event. And as much as those other sports and playoffs are great, football stirs the drink, you know, and I just think that it is such an exciting time of year, granted for all sports. And, you know, we wish all of our athletes, you know, the best of luck, but there's just something that stirs the blood about a high school football game that really makes the fall so special.
Absolutely. Well, it starts next week and it ends at Gillette Stadium in the first week of December. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us today. And thank you so much, Mike, for joining us again for the third time this week. Someone get Mike a Gatorade. It's something, get him a towel and wipe him off.
It's great to be here.
Put in some great work. I appreciate your historical perspective. Appreciate your help as always, Jay. As I said again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. My name is Gage Nutter. If you need ticket information to get to your games, your football playoff games, whether it be football, volleyball, field hockey, make sure you check out MIAA.net for ticketing options. Don't be the person up front, oh, I don't have the QR code, I don't know. Have it ready to go. Check MIAA.net to get your ticketing information. Thank you so much to Director Chris Flynn, behind the keyboard, behind the screens over here, for making us look so good. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you on the sideline here in the next few weeks. Have a great day, everybody.